This Luton Town season preview edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks and content available only to our patrons at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. We are cracking on with our 20-team preview for the upcoming Premier League season, which is a matter of days away now. Incredibly exciting. And this one is Luton Town. We're enjoying doing the promoted teams. Something new to talk about. It's always refreshing. First up from somewhere in Nottinghamshire is Mr. Barry Penaluna. Hello, Baz.
Evening, Malcolm. How are we doing?
How are you? Last time I spoke to you, you were in a peak with your current illness. You still okay?
I'm feeling all right. That was only an hour ago, Malcolm, and I'm still in a peak.
Baz, don't blow the man. People don't need to know that, man. It's like the Wizard of Oz. People don't need to know what's going on behind the curtain. You all right, though?
I'm feeling okay at the moment, yeah. Still under the weather, but feeling all right as it stands.
You look wonderful, Baz. An hour ago when we spoke to you, we were doing the Burnley show, and we said on the Burnley show that for our international listeners, we were enjoying the parade of accents that we're currently on, going around the Premier League. Well, we've got another beauty here. We've got another top three, I reckon. I'm going to introduce Gavin Daly from the Luton Town International Podcast. But the first thing I need to ask Gavin to explain is we've got an Irishman living on the west coast of America who was a Luton Town supporter. I've got no idea how any of that works, Gavin. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, started following the town in the 80s, later part of the 80s. Kingsley Black, first time I ever saw him play.
Kingsley Black, get in. Great start.
Team. Oh, unbelievable. Still to this day, my favourite player. Started following Luton. At that time, of course, they were in the old First Division, the top team in the league. And you could kind of, growing up in Ireland, you could kind of hold your own then because you're in the top tier, you're in the top league. Then as it starts to fall, everyone, like, it's the perfect thing that Luton put out on their social media today. Yeah, but who's your Premier League team?
Yeah,
you know, it was always that growing up. So been supporting Luton since the 80s, seen some great days in the FA Cup. I remember beating Newcastle and West Ham in the FA Cup, getting to the semi-final, and some really, really dark days in going all the way down to non-league and the 30-point deduction. I ended up in America because my wife is from California, and I stupidly brought her to Ireland during the winter, and she wasn't having that. She wasn't having that at all. So I ended up moving to California.
I spend a lot of time working with our American colleagues here, and at this time of night as well, so I can see them with the sun streaming through the window, and I'm looking outside now as the rain's going sideways past the window at 1,000 miles an hour. So I get that experience about 7 nights a week. Tell us about your podcast, Gavin. Where can we find you?
So it's the Luton Town International Podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify. Just search Luton Town International. We did start as the Luton Town America Podcast because it started as kind of a hobby for me back in 2010. And at that point, it was the Luton Town America Podcast because I was having a different guest on with me every week. About 10 episodes in, 11 episodes in, I had a guy by the name of Nick on, and we hit it off. And we had great chemistry, so decided, you know what, we're going to continue doing this going forward with me and him, and we'll bring someone else in. Then another 5 or 6 episodes go by, and we had a Norwegian who's living in Australia now, Alex, right? And we had him on, and the three of us again just had a ton of chemistry. So we're kind of like, you know what, we're going to go with this. So it remained the Luton Town Podcast. Luton Town America Podcast for a little while, and then kind of got going and we were taking it a lot more serious. We changed the name to Luton Town International, and just ran from there. Just being I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone here, but we are the only Luton Town podcast that has been going since the non-league days. Yeah, the only one. We've gone all the way from non-league to Premier League. I'm not trying to have a dig at anyone else there, but
Are you claiming credit for that rise then as well, Gavin? Because it sounds like you are.
Totally. Absolutely. Never thought it happened in a million years.
We're obviously there's a kind of the same generation because Luton Town were always on my radar. Is it in the 80s? They won the League Cup, didn't they? What year was that going on? Yeah,
88.
And they were always in Division 1, so they're similar to like Coventry and Norwich City. So when I kind of think of my dream Premiership or my stable, Luton Town were always there, and I've got a lot of memories. I remember Barry Venison, that mad overhead kick clearance from John Hartson, sitting down the Duke of Wellington watching that game on a Monday night football. So yeah, Luton Town, it's nuts to think that they then disappeared from view and made it all the way to non-league, to then just make it all the way back. They beat Sunderland in the playoff semi-final last year, which immediately puts you in good standing here, Gavin. That gives you at least 5 years of free credit here. You can do what you want. But yeah, like Luton, it also, if there are any Luton Town fans who've come to us via Gavin's show, it's the same place as Gavin just explained, Spotify, Apple, Google, etc. On Twitter at SGPN Premier, and the YouTube.com is at Premier League Gambling Podcast. And we throw out weekly, sort of bi-weekly shows, pick shows for the Premier League. If you do like a fiver or a tenner on something, we'll talk a lot of football, we'll talk a lot of rubbish, and we give out some picks at the end of it, which is what we're going to do today. Gavin's going to tell us about how Luton are going to go this season. And then me and Baz have got some little players. We'll talk some FPL later as well, some fantasy players. Some fantasy players that Gavin likes. I'll tell you first, before we get stuck into it, about our Patreon page continuing to wage war against the corporate gambling machine. Loads of exclusive content, contests, merch over there. The SGP Stories podcast, which is an uncensored show highlighting the best stories from decades of being DJs around the network. The Discord channel is sharp as a razor, and you need to head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. So before we get into next season, we just finished, like I say, the Burnley show, and one of the most fun things is doing the promoted teams because everyone's that excited. You haven't got this jaded thing going on that you've had 3 or 4 years, or you must be, and especially. I mean, Burnley were in the Premier League fairly recently. Luton were in the National League fairly recently. So the excitement levels of Luton Town fans must be absolutely off the chart. So how was last season for you? And then talk us through experiencing that the playoff final win, because that must be something else.
I mean, so the thing was, obviously Nathan Jones brought us from League 2 to League 1 and left us in League 1, just about promoted to go to Stoke. And when he came back, he kept us in the Championship again for a second stint. He kept us in the Championship, and he always improved the team. He always got us higher than he did the previous season. So obviously, not the season just finished, but the season before, we finished 6th and we were in the playoffs, and we unfortunately lost to Huddersfield. So this year there was a lot of expectation from Luton fans that we could go one better, and we could at least not necessarily get automatic, but push a little bit further into them playoff positions. And when Nathan Jones left, I think there was a sense of, okay, that could be our season all but done. But the simple fact is, when Rob Edwards came in, he beat out Nathan Jones in every aspect. He went, I want to say they went on a game unbeaten streak coming to the end of the season under Rob Edwards. And they drew 3 of the last 4 games, which would have made their record even better if they had won them. But they drew 3 of their last 4 games when playoffs were pretty much guaranteed. And to me, like, I never, ever, following Luton, never thought I would see Luton in the Premier League. Not in my lifetime. Because we're not to take a dig at you guys, but we're not Saudi owned. We're not billionaire owned. We're not country owned, we're not owned by a foreign state. It was never in the plan. Like we have to scrape and borrow for every last penny that we, and we're trying to build a new stadium, and that everything we could possibly ask for is going towards that. So last season was just, I know there was a of expectation, but that was far beyond my wildest dreams. I'll be honest with you guys, there was a number of different points. It obviously when we won the playoff, it sank in that, oh my God, we're Premier League. But then the level raised even further when the fixtures got released. It's like, oh my God, we're Premier League. And I think it will raise even further that first game against Brighton. It was like, fuck, we're Premier League, you know? Like, I never thought I would see this day. And last season, I mean, we went on a great run with Rob Edwards. You can say, yes, he got lucky in that he came into the team during the World Cup break. So he had that, and he talks about it a lot. He had that time to bond with the players that were there, to look at what tactics, to get the players away from England into a different country and have them bond with the coaching staff. So he done everything right. To me, he's an absolute genius, and he will be. I know, like, the fact that he went to Watford and only lasted 10, 11 games before they decided, no, you're not for us, and then came to us and got us promoted.
To everyone at Watford, though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the preposterous thing, because the trajectory of Rob Edwards, everything you know before and everything you know since, I think I'm a bit baffled by his decision to go. And I know people who operate at a higher level in sport will always have the confidence in their own ability to book the trend. I can go into Watford and do what everyone else has failed to do. In hindsight, he probably regrets that decision, because everything else before and everything else after has been absolutely brilliant. So there's no reason, that whatever happens at Luton Town this year, not a lot of that's going to happen by accident. Like, it's going to be meticulously planned. And I think they've got a lot to look forward to, Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, this season, there is absolutely no expectations for me. Like, I see on Twitter that we're going to break Derby's record. Don't care. Could not care less. I don't think we will. I think we'll do better than that. But I couldn't care less. Because, as has been pointed out to me by a number of people who aren't Luton Town supporters, you've only got to be better than 3 teams in the league.
Yeah. And
we showed that we can hang with Burnley and Sheffield United last year. We showed we can hang with Nottingham Forest the season before. Everton are a complete, like, shambles.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that.
You only need to be better than 3 teams. And, like, although I personally don't think we're going to stay up, I think we'll go back down. What this season will do for the club is far beyond their wildest dreams. They're able to get Power Court paid off, done, get everything started so that we have a ground that is worthy of what a lot of people would say is worthy of Premier League football. I think Kenilworth Road is, but however, and it'll get the stadium done, which was a big point after COVID hit, because obviously revenue was gone, and it'll give us, like, you look at the players we're bringing in, every single one of them is high quality championship player. Now, can they kick on and do it in the Premier League level? We'll see this season. But even if we go back down, we are set for next season with some of the players we have.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, you mentioned the transfer market and the players coming in. They have been very quiet in terms of spending. But I think you've pointed the reason out there. It's because the money needs to go into the stadium. Some of the money needs to go into the current stadium and more money going into a new stadium, isn't it? What do you think of the players we've brought in then? We've got Chong from Birmingham, right winger, I think, isn't it? Anderson and Marvelous Amber from Villa.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Like you say we haven't, and again, it's nothing against you guys. It's Premier League. We haven't spent that much. We haven't. We've only spent just over 8 million, on players. But we broke our transfer record 3 times in this transfer window. So, I mean, that tells you everything. I actually had more than 8 million, because I think the Campbell was about 4 or 5. So it's probably around 12, 13 million.
Yeah.
But we broke our record 3 times, and for the players we brought in, like, everyone wanted Nakamba back, just simply because what he gave the team last year when he came in on loan. And I think that was the signing that everyone was looking for in the offseason. And it obviously came late in the offseason for whatever reason. But to me, the signing that excites me is Tahiti.
Right.
Because having watched a lot of championship football, watching a lot of Birmingham, and especially watching Birmingham tear us apart for 90 minutes, I think it was not last season, the season before, where they beat us 5 or 6-0. like he tore us apart. He's a talent. So classified as a right winger, I don't necessarily know if he'll play in that position with Luton, because if Edwards sticks to the formation that we played last season, and he probably should, then we don't exactly play wingers, we play wing backs, and I can't see Chong playing as a wing back. So I think he'll more than likely play in a array. But again, he's someone that I'm looking at and going, even if we go down, he's top level Championship, and he can possibly push on and be a Premier League player. You know, Mads Anderson is a solid defender. You know, I don't necessarily know if he'll start the season. I think the three that got us there in Osho, Lockyer, and Bell will probably be given a chance to start the season. But again, with some players leaving, like Sonny Bradley leaving during the window, we needed to strengthen the defense. And again, he's a Championship level player, and if he can prove to be a Premier League player, then even better.
I mean, the difference for me between, I've seen a lot of people, I don't know if it's tongue in cheek or not, or Luton are playing a really good game here by getting themselves a Championship ready team, all ready to go there. But the difference between a top level Championship player and who were really well coached and these bottom 6 Premier League teams is nothing. I mean, you're talking really, really small margins. And we've seen, like, Rob Edwards is this new brand of coach. We've seen it in Eddie Howe. We've exchanged Steve Bruce for Eddie Howe. I mean, it's chalk and cheese. And Rob Edwards is very much in that camp for me. And it's fine margins. It's a shot going one side of the post rather than the other. And Luton are absolutely live with a chance of staying up for me. But just look through some of the numbers, and then hopefully, Gavin, you might be able to steer us towards sort of what Luton's identity might be. Big price to win the Premier League. I'll be honest, 2,500 to 1. If you fancy a bit of that, you could pay for a nice holiday at the end of the year.
Stick a quid. Stick a quid on that. I mean, if Leicester can do it, why can't we?
So we'll have £1 on that. 500 to 1 top 4, 300 to 1 top 6, 25 to 1 top half. And then we get into the little numbers. So the bottom half, they're 1 to 50. Relegation is 4 to 11, minus 277. To finish bottom, 13 to 8, plus 162. And on the handicap, they have 57 point head start. The standout figure for me last year, looking at the league table, was the amount of goals scored, Gab. There was a big disparity between... I mean, Luton went up third. They finished in third. People complain about the playoffs. Well, the team that finished third in the league went up. So no qualms with that. But Luton scored 57 goals compared to Sheffield United's 73, compared to Burnley's 87. But the defence was very comparable with those other two teams. You mentioned earlier on that mad run they went on. They lost one of their last 19 games, which is quite incredible. And the home and away records were quite similar. It's not like they were beating everyone at home and a little bit ropey on the way. Great defensive record away from home. So yeah, if Luton are going to pick these points up, is there going to be a pattern to it? Is it going to be 12 home wins and nothing on the road, or how are they going to do it, Gavin?
I actually I was a firm believer even last season that our away form helped us immensely. Yes, I can definitely see when you go to the likes of Etihad and Old Trafford and Anfield that a lot of these players will have never played there before and maybe in awe, and they may be caught off guard, and it could be a battering as such. But I think when they go to the likes of Brentford, Fulham, Forest, away from home, I think they're games away from home that I'm not saying we definitely will pick up points, but we shouldn't be going there scared and thinking we're not going to pick up any points in these games. Our away form will help us again this season. I think the home form, I actually think, needs to be a little bit better than it was last year, because our away form, as you said, was actually better than our home form, not by much. I think it was like a game or something. I think we won 11 on the road, 10 at home. But we need to be a little bit better at home. We need to make Kenilworth Road a fortress. Yeah. And to do that, I think we need to score more at home.
The way Luton came out against Sunderland in that playoff semi-final, they roared out of the traps. Absolutely roared out of them. They were 2-0 up by half-time. If a team turns up at Kenilworth Road and kind of half-arses it, other teams better than Sunderland will find themselves 2-0 down to that sort of start. So, and like you say, Rob Edwards, it's not going to go to these teams and park the bus. He's got a lot more about him than that. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing it. How do you read it, Baz?
Well, I've got Luton to stay up by the skin of their teeth. I think I'll give them a chance. And it's for the reasons Gavin says. You've only got to beat 3 other teams. I've got Sheffield United finishing below them. I think Everton will struggle. I've got Everton and Bournemouth, I think, in the bottom 3 at the moment as it stands. I just think we spoke to our Burnley man earlier, and he just said there's a feeling around Luton. There's just something special happening there. It is a fairy tale story, the sort of rags to riches. And there's what's to say that there can't be another fairy tale for one more year where he can stay there, put up a fight and make a good run of it and have a second year there at least. And I do agree with that. And I think Kenilworth Road will be a hard place for those lesser teams to go to. And they'll give some of the big teams a scare there as well. So I think they can pick up enough. Am I confident enough to pick them to stay up at around 2-1? I'm not so sure. So I went for a little bit of a safer pick. For me, I like Luton to finish above Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United will be bottom of the league is my thoughts. And Luton to finish above Sheffield United is around 6-5 plus 120. So that was the pick for me. And Luton can go down and that pick and still win. But I think if they finish above Sheffield United, then you've only got 2 more teams to try and finish above. But I'll give you a chance. I'll give you every chance of staying up. I would like to see Luton stay up. It is a great story. Lots of fans will be looking forward to try and getting a ticket for the away end at Kenilworth Road. It's going to be a struggle because, there's not going to be many tickets to go around. As you say, it's a shame that eventually they will have to leave Kenilworth Road. It's an iconic stadium. But for the betterment of the club, you can see why that's got to change. But to have this season at Kenilworth Road must be a massive boost for you lot.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Baz. So I've got them finishing 17th as well. You'd be pleased to hear, Gav. We've got it's a double vote of confidence here.
More confidence than you, Gavin.
Yes, come on, Gavin.
You guys are going to give me hope.
Yep, that's what we're here for. We've said this to everyone so far, though. So the 2-1 to stay up is reasonable, and the 3 teams I've got going down. So it depends on how brave you're feeling. You can go up the ladder, depending on your level of bravery. So my first pick, Baz, was Sheffield United. Luton to finish above Sheffield United, like you say, 6-5. I've got them finishing above Bournemouth, which is a bigger price again, 11-4 plus 275, and then. I've put this out on every show. If there's any Evertonians listening, it's not personal, honestly. Luton to finish above Everton. In fact, Gav threw this out before as well. He did say they were a shambles, I think was the exact word. So Luton to finish above Everton is 100-30 plus 333. And I don't mind them in the handicap market. 57-point head start. If Luton can pick up 35 points, puts them on 92, Baz. Man City won the league with 91. Yeah. So I quite like Villa in that market. Brentford have got a squeak. But if I was back the third one, Luton can, 35 at 57. Wins at 16-1.
Gavin, on your thoughts, we asked the same of our Burnley man. Your thoughts on Burnley and Sheffield United? Obviously, we didn't watch a huge amount of Championship last year. We watched bits and pieces. You'd have watched a lot more. How do you think Burnley and Sheffield United are going to fare this season?
I'm with you. I think Sheffield United are going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle massively, and I think they may be the team that goes of the 3 that came up. I think obviously, as I said, I think we'll go down, but I think they're the team that'll probably go with. I think Burnley can actually stay up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Burnley pulled a Brentford and stayed up quite comfortably in their first season. I really rate Victor Kompany as a manager. I think he's got his team set out the right way, and I mean, I remember watching Burnley under Sean Dyche, and when you say watching, I mean, you'd fall asleep watching them. Vincent Kompany has them playing some really, really nice football, and he has them playing the right way. So, I mean, I think Burnley could be the team that will shock a lot.
Yeah, so
bigger teams in the league, and I think they could stay up.
We're in agreement. I think we said we've got Burnley staying up, and we think they could make a a real push for sort of 10, 11, 12th in the league. We think from the sort of 9th downwards is wide open. As you say, your Brentfords, West Ham, Palace, Fulham. We think Burnley are in that bracket and can stay up comfortably. But it's exactly what Burnley man said when we spoke to Nathan earlier. Is they might surprise a few people this year in the fact that they've got a very different identity now to what they had in the Dyche days, and that they do play some really nice football now. So will be good to see that in the Premiership.
I know you said there. Sorry, Mal. I know you said there that to finish top half, it was 25-1.
Yeah. Is that are you interested, Gavin?
No, I was just going to say because I think there might be a little bit of difference between the English market and the Irish market, because I do know a friend that texted me, and I just remembered it right now, that he put a let me see what he said. I think he has 20 euro on them at 20-1 to be top 10. So if they finish top 10, he's buying the Bears when I'm back home.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all in for that. We're going to get you, Gav, to unearth some fantasy league gems in a moment. Good time to tell you about Underdog Fantasy, one of our sponsors here. With the NFL season right around the corner, we could talk some American sports, Gav. I reckon we could speak for about 3 hours here. Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on those NFL player props. Loads of markets as well. Lots of opportunities to win in their daily MLB contests, and make sure to enter Best Ball Mania 4, where first place gets $1 million. Head to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. So if there are any Luton Town listeners who've found their way onto our show via Gavin and the Luton Town International Podcast, like I say, we do throw out weekly pick shows and all sorts, but we are going to run a listeners league, a fantasy, an FPL fantasy league for our listeners. We got some prizes. We've got a few quid to give away, £150 in cash, some merch out the store, and we've got the Egg in a Cup, which you can't put a price on the glory of winning that. So if you are a fantasy player and you want the game, the code to join is CVVQAB, which is Castle, Vodka, Queen, Anaconda, Bermuda. Is that you all right with that, Baz?
Yeah, that's all right. You're still
champion.
Still changing.
Thank you. So yeah, we've got one official rule, which is get in before the start of the season, and we've got one unofficial rule, is be morally obligated to go and give us a like, review, thumbs up, something, wherever you found us. Go and do whatever they tell you to do. Subscribe, all that sort of malarkey. Are you a fantasy player? Obviously, you live in America. That all American people do is play fantasy sports, Gav. I mean, that's all they do. There's nothing else to do. What?
I played fantasy football for like the Sun thing that they had years and years.
Oh yeah, by post.
And I did play fantasy hockey, but realized I wasn't very good at it. So I haven't played fantasy. I think the hockey one was the only one I did. I did it for 2 years, but I have seen a couple of the things that the club have tweeted out about like prices and stuff like that. Yeah, and I would say Carlton Morris would be a good ad. I don't know. I think he's 5 million or 4.5 million or something.
Yeah,
like
so I was gonna. We don't need you to play for you to be able to give us a steer, because what we said, similar to Burnley, is nothing jumps off the page to me in terms of Luton players to put in my fantasy team. Out of the 20 teams available, nothing jumps out. But the price of all of the Luton players are very, very cheap. And someone somewhere for Luton is going to do stuff and get points. And that's for people like you to point us in the direction of where that might come from. I mean, Adebayo was the top scorer last year, wasn't he?
No, Morris was top scorer last year. Adebayo was the year before.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
So Morris is, I'm just looking at the price here. Yeah, he's around 5.5 million. What about defensively? Because have you got any attacking wing backs who get involved? Someone told me Alfie Doughty. Is it Doughty or Doherty?
Alfie Doughty. Doughty would be a good shout if we don't sign Ryan Giles or however you pronounce his last name. If we don't sign him from Wolves, then Alfie is going to play a lot of games next year. If we do sign Giles, I think it's going to be a toss-up between who starts between him and Doughty. We do have the Man City player Kabore, I think it is, on loan as the right wing back.
Yeah,
that may be an option too.
Fantasy football over here, the wing backs can be gold because they can get you the odd clean sheet, but if they're on corners and free kicks, which I was told Alfie Doughty might be, then they can certainly hit you some points from those attacking threats as well. So
that's it. Set pieces are going to be a big thing for Luton. We saw that in the Sunderland game. I just looking at the name of Tom Lockyer there, just so remembering what an absolute machine of a man and a footballer he looks. The incident in the playoff final. So I've just got off track here because I want to talk about Lockyer for a minute. The incident in the playoff final was really concerning and unfortunate. What was the outcome? Why did he just fall over? Because I saw him in the hospital later on with the old thumbs up. But what happened there, Gav?
I don't think the club have actually come out and said what exactly has happened. So I don't think anyone that says they do know is probably just speculating a little bit. There was definitely a collapse involved, that's for sure. And it, from what Rob Edwards said, he got told by, I think, one of the medical team that it wasn't good. So, I mean, make of that what you want, really. But he was on the pitch on Tuesday night playing against Ipswich. So it's just great to see him back and playing. And
as Malcolm says, he got
over to a certain degrey.
Didn't we? We sort of got the okay quite quickly after the game, didn't he? That he was doing okay, but at the time, as you say, it was quite a scare, wasn't it?
And I mean, no one really knew what happened. He just kind of collapsed on the pitch. Like, if it's a tackle or something like that, you kind of understand it. But he just seemed to be running backwards and then just collapsed onto the ground. It was like, what's happened there?
Yeah, because he was incredible in that Sunderland game, absolutely outstanding. But yeah, so set pieces are a big deal. Like in Luton have got some big old boys in the team.
I wrote down Lockyer actually. He's another one defensively because he's had a few goals for years from set pieces as well over the years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, another one to keep an eye on. So yeah, whether any Luton players make my team initially, I'm not quite sure yet. But as I say, it will be the thing as the season starts. I've no doubt some Luton players will be finding some points, and suddenly people will want to get involved in them because they're at very cheap prices in the fantasy football.
I'm not sure how exactly it works, like what exactly you get points for. But one player to look out for this season for Luton is going to be Amari Bell as a defender.
Okay. Writing that
comfortable
down.
on the ball, pacey. Now the only thing is he doesn't go forward for set plays. He is the one that stays back. So if set pieces are a big thing, probably not for that.
Yeah, well, I'm scribbling that out then. I've written it down and I've scribbled it out. Yeah, come on.
The reason you're looking at players who get forward, either putting crosses in or getting their head on the end of set pieces for defenders, particularly if the team who we're not expecting tons of clean sheets from. Maybe we will from Luton. It remains to be seen. But,
I can't see us keeping a lot of clean sheets. I think against some of the lower half teams, I think maybe, but I think our goal difference this season coming compared to last season is going to be night and day.
Yeah.
That was absolutely brilliant, Gav. That's a really good insight. Are you going to get across to any Luton Town games? Have you got any plans to get a game in this season?
I'm still hoping. I'm still trying to work out some stuff. Obviously, the game I want to go to is the Manchester United game at Kenilworth Road, just simply because the rest of my family are all United supporters. So I want to try to get to that game. But obviously with United in Champions League, that can change. At the moment, it's a Saturday, but can change to a Sunday or a Sunday morning game or Saturday, whatever it may be. So I'm going to wait to see on that. I would also like to get to the last day of the season. On the last home game at Kenilworth Road. I'd like to get to that one too. A couple of ones that I'm kind of penciling in, but nothing definite yet.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be. I hope you get across, mate. It'll be fun. That last day of the season when they cement that top four finish, that'll be a good trip across for you, Gavin. Is there anything else?
If we finish top four, I will send you guys money for beer.
Excellent. Is there anything else you need to tell us about before we let you go, Gavin?
Not that I can think of, just that, I know a lot of people are writing off Luton this season. As you guys said, they only have to be better than 3 teams, and I think that's more than possible.
Yeah, we wish you the best of luck, Gavin. Me and Barry are quite open that we don't like anyone. We're very cynical football fans, but Luton are one of the least offensive teams, so we dislike you less than we dislike everybody else. So, I mean, that's about as nice as we ever get. So, I really do hope they stay up financially, because we're going to have a little bit of 2-1. But yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had this season. Bars, anything else to tell us?
No, not from me. Just to thank Gavin for giving us his time and coming on the show. It's been good to have his insight. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the season, Gavin.
Yeah, go and listen to Gavin's podcast. And like I say, if you ever have a $5 or a $10 on a weekend, go and you can track us down in all the usual spots. And listen to our Premier League show, which is just me and Baz talking a lot of rubbish and then giving out some dodgy picks. Thank you very much, Gavin. Enjoy the season. We'd speak to you again, hopefully before the end of the year, and you can tell us how Luton performed all the miracles that are upcoming. Thanks everyone for listening. Going into the Fantasy League. Until next time, we'll see you down the road. Cheers.